Welcome to this week's episode of The Awareness Angle. I am Anthony Davis. I'm joined today, as always, by Luke Pettigrew. And this is the podcast where we go through all the week's news and give you the awareness angle on those stories and tell you how you could use them. Hello, Luke.
Anthony. Hey, everyone.
How's your week been? Has it been good?
Not too bad, thanks. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad. There's so much news to talk about this week. When we started this podcast, one thing I worried about was, would we have enough content? Oh,
there's always going to be content
this week. There's so much to talk about, but we'll whiz through loads of it. And we've got some really interesting bits tonight. This week, we've got the news. We've got stories about Microsoft, Meta. We've got AI misuse. We have the comments section, which we have some listeners now, and they've been giving us some comments and some questions, which is awesome. And then I've got some topics to discuss. Luke's got some topics to discuss, and then just a couple of things to close off. So let's get on with the awareness angle. Right.
Yeah, let's get to it.
News. Now, let's look at the news first. So this week, Microsoft confirm password deletion for 1 billion users. And this is based off attacks up to 200%. The company, Microsoft, now blocks 7,000 attacks on passwords a second, which is mad. I know many organisations are moving away from actually Outlook has enforced it. You can't have just a password to log in anymore. You now need 2FA, I believe.
Right, yeah.
I think. I don't know whether my mum still just logs in with a password. We'll have to have that conversation. I'll have to have that conversation before this episode goes to air, because I'm sure I could be socially engineered and someone could find out who my mum was. So yeah, I'll have that conversation with her. The one thing that struggles me about this, and we'll have to talk about this in another episode because I'm not at all prepared for it today. Do you know what passkeys are?
Yeah. Maybe not off the top of my head, but I've started using them with a password manager where you no longer need a password. You just have a pass key saved in your password manager. But
you see, I have queries about passwords, about like cross-device. Like my MacBook wants to be my passkey, but then will it work if I log in on my Windows device? You know, stuff. I haven't ventured down that avenue yet. Which is probably showing me up like, switch off. This guy knows nothing about security. But don't switch off.
I don't know how long they've been around, but they've pushing them a bit more now, aren't they? So.
But they've come from nowhere. I think, like, I had a YubiKey like years ago, but it just feels like all of a sudden I'm getting options to like sign in with my passkey or my password. And I'm like, I don't know what my passkey is. I'll select password and do two-factor authentication.
Yeah. I think they can be linked with your biometrics and like your Face ID and Windows Hello and stuff. Like, you no longer need a password in some cases. You just use your biometrics, which I always prefer. I can't stand it when if I log into an app, for example, and it's asking me for a password, I don't remember that, but just push my thumb on it and I'm in.
I get messages from my wife going, what's the password for this? What's the password for that? So I have to go into the password manager and then like copy the password and WhatsApp it to her. And then, I realised straight away it's not secure, but there we go. So the awareness angle on that is something that we'll cover in another episode later on, because we've been involved in changes from just password to multi-factor authentication, and then moving on from SMS to number matching. And those kinds of changes in any organisation, they're easy, aren't they? Like, there's no problems with them.
There's always adoption issues and taking that, explaining it to users and stuff, and why they should bother doing it, and why not use SMS anymore.
Now you've got to tell them what a passkey is and tell them that they're now going to be using a passkey.
Yeah. To be fair, we can put it in the newsletter as well. A little bit about... We've done some research and this is what we found.
What a great angle. If you are listening to the podcast and you want to find out more about the stories that we discuss this week, then sign up for the Awareness Angle newsletter. It goes out every Monday into your inbox or on LinkedIn. So you can find it at riskycreative.com and sign up there, or you can find it on my page on LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn, and just search for InfoSec and you can find me and the Awareness Angle newsletter. Right, let's move on to the next story. And this was an article I saw by Darktrace, the security vendor. And they said that over the holiday season and Black Friday, they'd seen a massive increase, obviously, in brand impersonation, especially around targeting retailers. 327% rise. They said phishing attacks mimicking major US retail brands increased by more than 2,000% during peak shopping periods. Christmas-themed phishing attacks rose 327% during Black Friday week. Brand impersonation of consumer brands grew 92%. But workplace-focused brand exploitation fell. So it's like, we're not going to do that this week. Let's focus on Black Friday. So, as always, I mean, we've done awareness around Black Friday.
Yeah.
As always. Yeah. Any advantage?
It's interesting. Like the fact that these sorts of phishing attacks have increased. But personally, I mean, I use Gmail. I don't think I ever get a phishing email, to be honest.
To Gmail. You step into Outlook just for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I
say that. I have a Hotmail account. It's an Outlook account as well. Actually, you can still use hotmail.com. I think you can anyway. My mum gets bombarded with phishing emails, and she always has done. And she uses Outlook. So I don't know whether it's because she's been vulnerable in the past. She's very, very good now. Very good. She forwards them to me, or she just like swipes them and deletes them. Sometimes good stuff. But she's very, very good. But yeah, she gets loads of them. But I'm Gmail as well, and I get nothing. Rarely. Okay, if I look in my junk folder, my spam folder, it's full of fake brand stuff. Yeah.
No, definitely. It's just good at detecting it, isn't it?
Yeah. If you have, I mean, my advice would be if you have an older person in your life, a mum, a dad, a nan, a gran, who is like on email, I would love to move my mum to Gmail, but that whole email migration piece, I wouldn't know where to start with her.
Yeah, that's fair.
So tying in with that, I had another story, which was related to Kumbh Mela, which is a festival, and it's actually, I've got an interesting fact for you here. Kumbh Mela is the largest public gathering of people, hence a public gathering.
Right.
It's the largest public gathering of people that happens in the world. Okay, so it's a pilgrimage in Hinduism, in India.
Yeah.
And every 12 years, people gather, people make pilgrimage. And there's a 6-year anniversary as well. And 2025 is the 6th year. So they're expecting millions of people to descend and celebrate this festival. I'm probably making so many mistakes here, so there's no offense meant to anyone. Just clear that up. But the story about this is, and I saw this on LinkedIn today, people are setting up fake websites and fake phishing sites for people booking hotels, because there's lots of hotel booking fraud around this festival. Nothing is sacred, clearly. So what's happened is, they tell you to only use official Kumbh Mela websites or reputed vendors. They've set up a website as well, kumbh.gov.in, for bookings. Double check the URLs and phone numbers before making payments. And if you do fall victim of any online cybercrime, report it on cybercrime.gov.in.
Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of ties in. It's I saw that on LinkedIn. We'll share details of that in the show notes as well. But if you've got operations in that part of the world, or people in your business are going to be making that journey, then it could be worth sharing that advice with them as well.
It's always a good thing as well, isn't it? Like providing relevant content and thinking about global. If you're in a business that's global, at least stuff like that.
I think it's really easy to, if like we're based in the UK, so it's really easy to think inside our box. Yeah. But then when you think outside the box, we don't get exposed to that kind of news or story as much as well either, do we? All the news we see is like here or America and a bit of Europe. That'd be kind of it. So, yeah, it's definitely worth it. And it makes your service and the stories you tell feel more inclusive if you're thinking about stories in the other parts of the world where you operate. The next one I had, Meta. This was yours, wasn't it? Did you bring this to the table?
I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but so it's the Meta being fined 251 million euros from their 2018 data breach, which was the 29 million accounts globally that were affected. And so, that was a fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, which obviously off camera, I was wondering why the Irish one, but as you mentioned to me, it's related to their data center being in
their EMEA operations is based, their head office, European head office is based in Dublin. Yeah.
So that's quite a hefty fine.
In 2023, Meta's revenue was 40 billion. So it's a little dent.
Well, to someone like that, I guess. But obviously the fines, I think, can be quite substantial, even to small businesses, can't they?
Yes.
It's like X amount or I'd have to research it, but it can be quite a lot. Probably could take out a small business, to be fair.
Yes, 4% of global turnover or 20 million euros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whichever's
greater, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens to that money? Do you know what happens to the fine money?
No.
So in EU countries, the proceeds of GDPR funds become national funds. So the national treasury can add it to their national budget. So Ireland are going to have some money to spend next when that comes in, which is quite good. It's I hope they put it to good use.
Upgrade their cybersecurity systems.
That would be a wise investment, wouldn't it? Yeah, data protection and cybersecurity investments. Yeah. Right. I had another story, and it was multiple flaws found in Volkswagen Group's infotainment systems. So this one was an article on Security Affairs, and researchers have discovered multiple flaws on the infotainment systems of Volkswagen Group vehicles that can allow them to be tracked by hackers in real time. And this is any vehicle sold. It's the MIB, Men in Black. It's the MIB3 infotainment system, which appeared in 2021 and is now used in the Skoda Karoq, the Volkswagen Arteon, the Volkswagen Passat, Skoda Kodiaq, Skoda Superb, Volkswagen T-Cross, Tiguan. It's
so basically every car that they have is electric.
Basically, So it's widely used in these, and Volkswagen Group doesn't manufacture them, but does pull them in from a third-party source. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's they've said that some issues have been fixed and others are going to be addressed. Now, I wonder how these are being fixed, right? Now, my guess is with cars, and in my experience, these cars, and I'm not sure these will have over-the-air updates, because these aren't electric cars. They might have over-the-air updates, but so I have a 2-year-old Kia, and that car, I've just received a notification from Kia that I am no longer going to receive over-the-air updates unless I pay £80 a year.
Okay.
It's got a 7-year warranty. It's 2 years old, and it no longer gets free software updates. I think that's disgusting.
Yeah, especially for £80 a year.
£80 a year. Now,
what's the point of that?
It might still get security updates. I probably should clarify that. But even that, like, I've got about 4 emails in the last 4 weeks telling me, like, hope you've enjoyed getting updates to your vehicle. If you'd like to continue receiving updates, please pay £80 a year. Yes, yeah. But anyway, that's aside. So if you have a Volkswagen, I would probably, if you have a modern Volkswagen, next time it's in for a service, ask them to check that it's a software update. Or if you're really worried, contact your dealer and ask them if there's any software updates available for it, because it might not update over the air. I had 2 more bits of news this week. The first one was, again, it was an article I saw on LinkedIn by an editor at LinkedIn News. And basically it was about something we discussed last week. Company leaders are struggling to police workers' use of AI. The Financial Times reports. Employees are adopting large language models like ChatGPT and Claude.ai faster than the firms can write corporate policies on how they should or shouldn't be used. One 27-year-old researcher told the Financial Times that he'd been using ChatGPT to write code in order to keep up with his colleagues. Part of it was sheer laziness, he said. Part of it was genuinely believing it could make my work better and more accurate. He was unsure whether or not he was allowed to use it or not. So, yes, that's an interesting one. We'll put the link to that article in the newsletter. Do you know, I asked ChatGPT, we've been doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and updating profiles and stuff like that. And I asked ChatGPT to shorten something to 155 characters.
Right.
So it spat me out a result. I pasted it in. It said it was too long. So I checked and it was 165 characters. So I asked ChatGPT again to shorten this phrase to 155 characters, no longer than 155 characters. And it did 165 again. So in the end, I shortened it myself. Like the amount of time that I spent trying to get ChatGPT to do it, I could have done it myself. But
yeah, I had the same problem when doing the YouTube tags for this podcast. You ask it for 500 characters and it spits out 1,000 characters or something, and then you ask it to shorten it to 500 and it gives you 700, and
it can't even
don't
count.
really know why, but yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
And then you correct
ChatGPT,
it and it apologizes to you.
I mean, embrace it, right? The technology is amazing. You can do amazing things with it, but you have to be careful with the data
Definitely
you give it.
To double check it. What it gives
you have to verify. There was a song I was listening to earlier, and I was listening to it and I was like, this really sounds like a Kanye West production. And then I was driving, so I asked Siri, which is now ChatGPT, so I asked Siri who produced this song and named the song, who produced this song by so-and-so. And it goes, would you like me to ask ChatGPT? And I'm like, every time, yes, please. So yes, ask ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT said that the artist produced it. And I'm like, there's no way that guy singing produced that song. And it said, please verify. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to have to verify that now because I don't believe that was produced by the artist. But yeah, always verify ChatGPT. And sometimes it's just quicker and easier to do it yourself. There was one last one, and this was a late one. Actually, we've got 2 late ones because we found one just before we came on air. So this one I've got is cybercriminals exploit Google Calendar to spread malicious links, and this was we've seen this before. We've seen people send Google Calendar invites and they've got links in them. That was an issue a year or so ago that kind of came and then went all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, it's back, but with a twist this time. So basically, cybercriminals are bypassing. We've just said how good Gmail is, but Google Calendar, it's like there's always a way around things. They're bypassing security policies. They look legitimate because they appear to directly originate from Google Calendar and the calendar files. So they've got ICS files attached, include a link to Google Forms or Google Drawings. And then once you get into the link, some of them have fake recaptures or a fake support button when things don't work, when the page doesn't work how you want. Some others link you out to Google Drawings, so they've abused another Google product, which then contains a phishing link or phishing stuff. Right. So there's some really simple advice to give to your users on this. Again, all in the show notes. We recommend users enable known senders in Google Calendar, which to me makes sense. Like, the only calendar invites I get sent from people I don't know are salespeople going, "Oh, I'd love to meet to discuss this with you. Please let me know if this time's good." And I'm like, no. By enabling known senders in Google Calendar, it helps defend against this type of phishing by alerting the user when they receive an invitation from someone not in their contact list or who they haven't interacted with that email address in the past. So yeah, it's that's pretty much it, really. I'll make sure that that's in this week's newsletter as well. We've got one last piece of news this week. And when I first saw this come up, I had I had a picture of a gravestone with like RIP LastPass, because the headline made me think that LastPass had suffered another cyber attack and surely they couldn't survive another one. But I was wrong. This it was the gift that keeps giving. It's Luke, tell us what happened.
Yeah, so this one is related to their previous breach back in 2022, where I think they had a breach of all sorts of data, including their like source code, APIs, all sorts of valuable information that these hackers have continued to use. So yeah, what was it? $5.4 million been stolen from LastPass users, I believe.
LastPass users? Wow. So the credentials, so they've stolen credentials in the breach and then they've gone ahead and used those credentials.
So it's their crypto, these users' crypto accounts, by the looks of it. So it's, maybe if you're ever a victim of a data breach like that, and when you're using a password manager like that, you should cycle your passwords and maybe even jump ship to another platform for a little while.
Yeah, I was a LastPass user.
It's a lot of effort, but
I was a LastPass. So it's funny, right? Migrating from LastPass to a different vendor is insecure, or it was when I did it, was insecure, or at least one way to do it was insecure, but it was surprisingly easy. But yeah, so I left LastPass and the instruction from my new password manager was to download the content of my vault into plain text and then upload that to my new password manager. That's like, okay,
maybe not the best way to do it, but
well, like for the period of transition, all of my credentials are in a plain text file that now lives on my computer. So yeah, like the first thing I would have done if I knew who LastPass users were was I probably would have targeted them with some kind of malware and then waited for those ones that jumped ship, look for a text file to drop in the folder it drops it in, and then just scooped it up. And then I've got all their credentials. And I haven't breached LastPass. I've just breached machines, which is probably easier than breaching LastPass. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're a LastPass customer...
Your file.
If you're a LastPass customer, I did delete my file, but how deleted, I don't know. Look, if you use LastPass... LastPass as a company, they give out toothbrushes at security conferences. You know, like you wouldn't share a toothbrush. No, but you shared all my passwords.
Yeah.
It's like, Yeah, LastPass, they were lovely people when I spoke to them, but yeah, it's kind of your worst nightmare, isn't it? If you're a password manager, that's that's what keeps you up at night, I would imagine. Yeah. Well, we're 27 minutes in and we've just finished the news. It was meant to take 10 minutes, so yeah, hold on tight.
Better get cracking.
Yeah. Right. Let's move on to the comments section.
Yeah, exciting. Some comments from our lovely listeners.
We got some comments. We got some comments on LinkedIn. We got a couple of comments on YouTube as well, which is great. So the first comment we got was from Paul Troisi on LinkedIn. And Paul said, fantastic video. He just posted a video on when controls are too tight for employees. It hinders productivity and ends up hurting the organisation. I think Paul makes a great point with that comment. Like, when you bring controls in and they're too tight, people are just going to find a way around them. You see that in businesses. Like, it's security, unless you've sold it really, really well, security needs to be convenient. And vendors are as guilty as this. Password managers are as guilty as this. Some password. My mum doesn't use a password manager because I can't. The amount of maintenance and support I think she'll need from me as her IT person. And my mum's lovely and she's fairly switched on. They're not easy or accessible enough, I don't think, at the moment, and I don't know when they will be.
No, I mean, the only ones that are like your Google
your
account,
browser-based.
which obviously is browser-based, and I guess an iPhone and Mac was probably the most user-friendly way of having a secure password, to be honest. But, I mean, Windows is probably making a lot of improvements.
Yeah.
But obviously, with all your services and stuff, that's where it gets tricky.
You want to tell all your users to use a password manager, surely. But I tell you, the market is still white. I think an Apple have launched their passwords app. And again, cross-browser suit, but I'm not I haven't looked into it. I don't know how it works. But it feels to me like someone is there, just either it's too complex a problem to solve easily. But if anyone could do it, Apple could do it, because they just make things work. But it's whether or not they see any money in making a password manager that works on every device. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The next, we'll put a link to Paul's video and comment in the newsletter. Someone reached out to us and said, asked us to clarify the generative AI sharing risk. So actually, I think this comment was on the CyberSafe. This might have been on the CyberSafe webinar, or us talking about the CyberSafe webinar that I was on last week. What is the risk and how do you police it? So what is the risk of generative AI? Oversharing, surely.
Yeah, especially when it's not been approved for business use, and just giving your data to God knows where, and it's all being churned through and using it to train the model, and that data is probably going to be there somewhere. And obviously, if you're putting in confidential stuff or code and whatever else, then it's kind of gone at that point.
And it's really, again, it also brings in the question of, can your users confidently identify the data classification of the data they have access to? So something we ask in our culture study, how confident are you in knowing what is restricted, confidential, external, internal? And I bet you some users aren't crystal clear on that, which is a problem.
Makes you wonder though, like in terms of policing it, and if your business doesn't have a policy on it, surely at that point you blacklist it as much as you can until you have got something in place.
Well, we know of companies that haven't done that, it would be the easiest. And if you have the ability to do that, not every company would have the ability to do that. But if you do have the ability to do that, it would be the easiest thing to do until you can get a stance on it. I mean, DLP solutions are out there to monitor web traffic, to monitor what services people are going to and what data they're putting in, but they cost money. And some businesses have complicated setups where they don't quite work. So, yeah, it's a real problem. I think vendors, in some ways, I don't want this to turn into a big discussion on AI, but there's two things I want to do. First is vendors that introduce new AI features. Please consider it from the user or the company's perspective. Like, we've had to talk to vendors to ask them to turn off their AI solutions because they're just on a standard. And they're like, oh yeah, new AI features. Come on, give us all your data. It's like, oh, hang on. We need to get that approved. We need to know where it goes and who's getting hold of it.
Probably okay for a smaller business or an individual or something, but yeah.
Yeah, where's the off switch? Oh, there isn't one. Well, now we have a problem.
Yeah.
The other thing as well on this is AI will soon stop becoming AI, and it will just become a feature. Like it also, or that's wrong. It will stop becoming a feature. We have AI. Like once upon a time, we had electricity, but now everyone has electricity. Cars. Tesla make electric cars. No, they just make cars now. It's the word electric is slowly dropping from the description because they're just cars. Like, yeah, they run on a different fuel.
Norm, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember everyone raving about hybrids, but like Priuses, and it was like, yeah, wow. But now it's just a car. So AI will stop, and hopefully we'll see lots of people having. So it's Jurassic Park, isn't it? They were too busy thinking whether or not they could as to whether or not they should. Like, I'm sure there's lots of companies that are looking at AI because we have to have an AI solution. Everyone else has got one. When is your product any better for it? Don't know. Yeah. Users use it because it's shiny and new and makes promises that maybe aren't always true. But the next comment we had was from Paige on YouTube that asked if the CyberArk stats we discussed, can they be trusted? And this was in response to that was a comment on link. Paige asked that on YouTube, if the CyberArk stats we discussed last week could be trusted. And this was around the amount of C-suite that would click. They were more likely to get phished than non-C-suite employees.
Yeah.
So I do have, I found a little something from KnowBe4 on this, and Stu from KnowBe4, from May, wrote that according to a recent survey that wasn't run by CyberArk, 96% of executives are vulnerable to attack. 96% of executives failed to tell the difference between a real email and a phishing email 100% of the time. So that was an ebook written by Intermediate and Intel Security. The book's called Harpooning Executives, How Phishing Evolved into the C-Suite. So it talks about whaling and why execs are optimal targets. Sounds like a guidebook rather than a defense book. There's lots of stats out there about that. I mean, if you're worried about the stats accuracy, you could run your own culture study and find out yourself. Or I don't know, maybe we can ask, like, does anyone listening see their exec board being more vulnerable? But a culture study would be a great idea.
Interesting to hear from the audience, but yeah, definitely, if you can, running your own culture study is always good. Get a lot of insight from all you.
It could be worth considering as well, though, as an individual, like Anthony Davis, security awareness guy, my CEO, who's going to be targeted with more phishing emails, like properly targeted, probably my CEO, because he's the big fish, right? He's the one that people will actively, strategically target. Whereas me, I'm just like, I'm just in the shoal of fish, getting caught by a big net. They're not coming after me. There's not like a gang of elite fishermen coming after me with harpoons and big ropes. So that might play a part in it as well.
It's more money in phishing a CEO than Joe Blogs.
Yeah, exactly. We KnowBe4 released their Q3 top clicked phishing tests, which was quite interesting. The top phishing email subjects globally, possible typo. There was, second was IT assigned cybersecurity training. Yeah, you have training to complete. Like you have a hard enough time getting your employees to click the real training, let alone them thinking it's phishing. And then the next 4 were all HR related. Paycheck issues, reimbursement notice, please update your W-4, which is obviously American, I think. QR codes, though, that was the big takeaway from this. QR codes had seen a massive uptick. I think QR codes.
Not surprised. You see them everywhere now.
Yeah.
And
we haven't. But we have got a video QR as well. Code. Yeah.
On YouTube.
Yes. So, yeah. I don't like QR codes, but I'm not a fan of QR codes, but they have their uses, don't they? Because they are convenient.
Yeah, they're definitely they are handy.
Yeah.
You see them a lot in the shops and obviously car parks. It's where some scams are. Always check the QR code before you scan it as best you can, but sometimes it's probably not so easy because you probably get sent to some short link domain anyway, so could be a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, absolutely. I only had one more thing to mention. I know you've got a couple of stories to mention, but I had there was one thing I wanted to mention this week, and it was something that I saw just today. I saw a couple of influential people on LinkedIn, Graham Cluley, and someone else wrote about this, but Interpol is dropping the phrase pig butchering, and they're changing the name to romance baiting. Now, from anyone that doesn't know what pig butchering is, pig butchering is a term coined by fraudsters to describe when they build a relationship with their intended victim, fattening them up, before butchering them into making an unsound investment. So Graham clearly describes that in a blog post that we'll link to. But yeah, it's said to have originated from the Mandarin phrase shazupan.
Right.
Yes. So pig butchering is something that I think was heavily used, or it was something that happened a lot. They used to get an executive, take them to an abandoned building, and then basically ask them for where all the money is and stuff like that, and hurt them till they gave it up. So yeah, that's now called romance baiting, which doesn't quite capture the eye or the imagination like pig butchering does it.
Not quite as gruesome, but maybe a little bit clearer these days, at least.
Yes, terminology is one
online,
support.
Doesn't it? So.
It's one support from a criminologist with expertise in forensic linguistics. I was pig butchered, not actually butchered, but someone reached out to me just a couple of months ago, trying to do this, and trying to get me to invest in crypto, but was gave me all the flattery. Sent me a picture and all sorts, but let's talk about that next week. Okay, I'll make a note of that. We'll talk about my pig butchering experience next week. It all started on LinkedIn, moved over to WhatsApp, and then I pulled the plug because I was like, I'm not comfortable with this anymore. I I knew straight away what it was, though. I didn't fall for it. Just disclaimer. No. Don't target me. Right. Have you had a story you wanted to share this week?
Yeah, I have a story around AI. More AI. Well, both of them are AI actually, but yeah, so the first one is around voice cloning.
Right.
And so yeah, this Darren Mostyn, who I watch on YouTube, they're a content creator and professional colorist. And so yeah, they suffered a AI clone of their own voice. So this was back in October. And so their friend reached out to them saying that they've heard this chap's voice on a bunch of YouTube videos.
As someone who's going to increasingly be putting their voice out there in the ether week on week on week on a podcast,
and now,
you
now
have
I'm
my
worried as
attention.
well.
Please tell us what's going to happen to us.
So yeah, this there were 5 videos, I believe, on a YouTube channel that obviously wasn't this Darren's. Like, there wasn't this channel. It wasn't endorsed by him or anything like that. And one of the videos was a Elon Musk Neuralink video. I guess he was narrating it or something. And he showed it to his daughters, and they believed it was him, and they wondered why he was talking about Elon Musk. And it sort of shows how realistic these things can be. Do
you know what?
There was yeah, go on.
I was going to say, Halloween, we made a video that it's on the Risky Creative YouTube channel called Likeness, and it was meant to be like a tongue-in-cheek fantasy view of how you submit some voice to something or have your likeness scanned, and then all of a sudden it ends up appearing everywhere. And
yeah,
it's true, it happens.
Yeah, definitely. These days, it's a lot more common. And yeah, so there were other videos of this guy Darren. So one of them was him talking through. So he does a lot of YouTube videos on the software DaVinci Resolve, which is like
that's the
program
video
where you can edit videos and color grade them and whatever else. And so obviously he puts out these on his YouTube channel, and he's a professional. And so this other channel had tutorials which were basically using his voice and narrating them with a ChatGPT generated script that wasn't quite accurate.
Wow. So
obviously that's something that could sort of damage and tarnish his respect and whatever else. There was another video of him which featured him swearing, which is like, obviously this guy doesn't swear on his videos, but it's out there. He's got videos now of him swearing, and obviously that was at the point where he was like, this is too much. I need to get this taken down.
Shut it down.
So he contacted the channel, telling them that you need to take this down. This is my voice you're using. And luckily the person running it replied to him. I mean, he probably could have got it taken down eventually anyway after a lot of hassle, but so they said that I'll take it down, but I've done nothing wrong. Like this, so they've used 11 Labs, this random channel, which is a voice cloning software and AI voice generating. And so this person's fed it all of these videos, generated a clone of this guy's voice. I guess they liked his voice, maybe, or
so 11 labs have promote. So 11 labs have used his voice.
No, sorry. So
this guy's fed his voice. Random,
this person that's cloned his voice is like used at all, because at that point there was no real authentication or anything. You just tick a box saying I have permission to use this voice, and so this person's just ticked a box and done it. Obviously there's some legality there and potential to take this person to court or something, but so this eventually, yeah, they removed the videos, but they said it's not their fault that this tool exists and I can do this, which is like very naive and ignorant way to say it. But
again, so busy wondering if they could, didn't stop to think whether or not they should.
Yeah.
We know similar, so we've used HeyGen before, which is a video production cloning, voice cloning. It does all of that kind of. It can take a video and have your voice in a different language and map the speech so it looks like you're speaking another language, and that uses 11 Labs, or it did use 11 Labs voice synthesis, which is exactly the same tool. But with HeyGen, what you had to do was upload a video of you saying a specific word and code that was generated by the platform. So that authentication process existed.
Yeah.
Whereas
so
by the sounds of it... Oh, sorry, go on.
Later in the story you'll hear. So yeah, very similar to that. But so yeah, they Darren reached out to 11 Labs from this and was lucky enough to be able to meet their head of AI safety and discuss it all, really. And from that, 11 Labs introduced a voice verification system.
Of course.
So you have to say a few words and it detects it's you.
It's a shame that it took that for them to think that was necessary.
Yeah. Sometimes you think, yeah, wow, how did no one think of this particular thing? But
yeah.
Another part of it is 11 Labs, for example, have a library of voices that are protected and they can't be cloned. So they're like celebrities and singers and whatever else, famous,
I suppose,
voice artists probably on there, but obviously it's not available to everybody.
They're famous people that have given their consent, I suppose. Like, if it's Samuel L. Jackson... Samuel L. Jackson said, yeah, you can use my voice for whatever you want. And
potentially, I don't know if 11 Labs have that, to be honest, but obviously there's loads of AI voice tools out there. But so yeah, the problem though is obviously that kind of protection is not available to everybody. You need to be someone that's got a bit of a following, I guess, to at some point get put on there. But even that doesn't protect you. Obviously there's lots of tools out there. There's no universal database somewhere. It's all a bit Wild West at that point. And so yeah, something he mentioned is and we can put the video in the newsletter and stuff, was he has a friend who's quite a large like UK casting director for like various actors, I guess, actresses. And they obviously see this happen a lot in that world where a celebrity gets their voice cloned. And so part of that was they suggested that, or they've mentioned that in that space these celebrities are creating an avatar of themselves with their voice and copywriting it to protect themselves against this sort of thing, and making it easier, I guess, to get it taken down if something happens like that, which is unheard of, really. I don't think there's probably some celebrities out there have copyrighted their likeness before, but these days it's going to be a thing.
It's tough, isn't it? Because impersonators have existed forever, for good or bad. But I suppose getting an impersonator to sell something, or if the impersonator is doing damage to the original person's likeness or identity or brand, then I mean, that's the thing with this story. It's like his voice is being used for bad purposes, really, and for this random person's gain of getting some views or something. But meanwhile, this poor victim's getting their voice used and tarnishing their reputation, and could be far worse even. Especially with like deep fake technology, we've seen stuff like that. So it's just another joy of AI. Yes, it's not ideal, is it, at all? God,
I just remembered as well, we were in our related to this story somewhat on our PayPal scams video. We had a comment, didn't we?
We did.
Someone about being cautious when talking to scammers, which obviously you demonstrated in the PayPal scammers video.
Yeah, Elbow and I said, be cautious when actually speaking to scammers, as a new facet of the scam involves recording your voice to create AI-generated synthetic speech for future scams. So,
I just thought as well, from that, obviously, there are some authentication methods of where it uses your voice sometimes to, and obviously if you, a banking scam or something, even like, you've got a clone of someone's voice and you can log into their protected account with their voice. Like, it's quite scary.
Me and my mum have my mum and my brothers, we have a secret word now. So if ever she gets a strange call from us, she needs to ask us what the secret word is. In the moment of panic, she'll probably forget and send £20,000 to me, who's been arrested by the Cuban police or something like that and needs help from a solicitor. But yes, we have a safe word, a security word. So and she has it written down above the phone, so she won't forget. Yeah. The PayPal scam video. It's interesting because there's two versions of that video. There's the original one called "Don't Get Caught Out by This PayPal Phishing Scam," which features the actual recording we made of the call. So it's the actual live call footage. In that, the audio is true. We made a shorter version of that this year as part of Hox Hunt's Cybersecurity Awareness Month toolkit. And the voice in that one is synthetic. It's been created using 11 Labs.
I think it was, 11 Labs.
I think it was. But
with an approved voice that's available on there, may I add.
Yes. But it sounds so real. It's like with 2 or 3 goes at it, but it sounds realistic. And we put in the video that this voice is not real. You know, we've disclaimed it. We haven't claimed it's real, but yeah, it provided a cleaner audio. It was a creative decision to create a new one. But the script remained the same. And yeah, it's really, really good, really effective. Yeah. You had one last story you wanted to discuss.
Yes, another AI one, but we can go over this one quickly. It was just something I saw. I mean, I think you saw it as well. The recent, what was it? The Game Awards that was only, I think it was only a few days ago, or last week or something. But yeah, one of the games that was announced there, the Catly game, which is AAA open world MMO featuring realistic cats in vibrant environments, and it's it had a trailer at that show,
right? And
I think a lot of people, I mean, you see on social media a lot of these comments saying that looks like AI. This looks like a scam, and so it's just sparks concerns that this isn't real and it's just going to scam people out of money. And part of that was there's some suspicion around the developer of this game who's had involvement in blockchain and NFTs, and I guess those were probably failures for them. So there's obviously a bad reputation there. But as well, they're using big influencers to promote this game, which is obviously a bit of a telltale sign that money's involved. And just can't get away from AI these days.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think in one of the videos, might have been the one you shared with me, some of the comments on the listing on Steam, where it's on Steam, which is obviously a game distribution service. Some of the comments sound like they're written by the developers. They're like, just what I wanted. Using ChatGPT to like give me a character that talks like ChatGPT rather than a dull NPC and stuff. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, that AI's got a place in games, but it's got scam written all over it, hasn't it? We'll see, I suppose.
No. Right. Back to your stories.
I have. I'll have one more this week. I've got a couple more, but I'll save some of these. I got pwned this week, so I got a message from Have I Been Pwned, which is the breach notification service run by Troy Hunt, and essentially what you can set up notifications. If you go to haveibeenpwned.com, you can type in your email address and it tells you if you were in any data breaches. Well, I got a message from one this week, and I didn't recognize the company that it mentioned. I was like, that's not a service I've ever used. Right. And then I looked it up, and funnily enough, Troy Hunt, December the 15th, so just 4 days ago, we record this Thursday night. Troy said, I'm in the process of verifying a data breach attributed to Hopper Media. And I thought I'd tweet out and ask for help, as I've got no idea what the service is. So it looks to me like it's a data aggregator. Troy has assumed essentially that it's a data aggregator. The only search result he gets is a really old, dead LinkedIn profile. But this data breach, 121 million rows, tens of millions of unique email addresses, and obviously the data is legit.
Yeah. And Troy's the creator of Have I Been Pwned, isn't he? Or
Yeah, he is.
Quite interesting. Even he's a bit stumped and asking for help, but it's always good to reach out to people and figure out.
Like, no one's too big to ask for help, which is interesting. Like, that's something to remind on that. What gets me with this one, though, is like, I went through a phase of telling people to sign up to Have I Been Pwned to get notified of when they've got a breach. And I've had this conversation with technical people as well. Like, oh yeah, someone's involved in a data breach. And it's like, but what's the action from that? Like, what do I do with that knowledge now? I'm in a breach, but I don't know what username. Email address, obviously. I don't know what password. Do I change all of my passwords? I'll keep an eye out for phishing emails. That's obviously advice, but I'm vigilant with that anyway. So I'm not sure I would tell people now to sign up for Have I Been Pwned, because I'm not sure what the actions are. If anyone's still listening to this episode and knows what the actions are for Have I Been Pwned and has some good advice on what to tell colleagues and workers and family and friends, do reach out to us. hello@riskycreative.com. Get in touch or comment on the videos, because it'd be good to know.
I guess it depends on a few things, really, doesn't it? If you're someone that's got good password hygiene and uses a password manager, and you've got multi-factor authentication and all these other things, you probably don't need to do much about it. But if you're someone that's got the same password on every single thing and doesn't have multi-factor authentication, you probably want to start changing your passwords. But
surely that's game over already, though. If you're using the same password everywhere, surely that goose is cooked. You're done for already, surely.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I think that's probably it for this week then. What do we have? I have a couple more stories we'll go over next week. A couple of interesting ones. One more on AI, the video that I thought was AI but wasn't AI. And there is a video that I will share this week about how private your information is. So I'll share that as well. That's kind of relevant. I'll put that in the newsletter. Thanks for the chat, Luke.
Yeah, thank you. It's been good.
Yeah,
and obviously this will air on Christmas Eve, but we will be doing another one for the week after. What day is that? New Year's Eve, isn't it? But,
yes.
If anybody's bored with their families and wants to listen in, obviously we'll have a stock of episodes for people to listen to. So,
you know what, we haven't even mentioned Christmas. We haven't even got any Christmas decorations up, so anyone listening, you can watch these on YouTube as well, but that means you have to look at us, so it's up to you which way you do it. We did say we were going to get some decorations up, but we forgot. So
I was thinking the timing of everything, but no.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So yeah, we'll be back. If you're listening to this on Monday the 23rd or after, there will be an episode next week for you to listen to. Might not be as long as this one, but there will be an episode. And if you're having a break over Christmas, have a good one, and hope you don't get called out for an awareness emergency.
Yeah, no.
Is there such thing as an awareness emergency?
Maybe not an awareness one, but InfoSec one, maybe.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week. Keep an eye out for the newsletter. If you haven't subscribed yet, get yourself to riskycreative.com or look up me on LinkedIn and you get the LinkedIn one there. Or you can find us on Linktree, /risky creative. Right. That's it. See you next week, Luke.
Awesome. Catch you later. Thanks, everyone.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.